Hello and welcome. In this video, we are doing one of my favorite videos that I do throughout the year, where I rank my 10 favorite movies from the year. It was just a great amount of movies that came out this year, and it was actually ended up being really hard for me to get it down to 10. So I will give you 5 honorable mentions as well of my 15 through 11, and then we'll talk a little bit more in detail about my 10 favorite movies. So let's get ready to jump in. Welcome once again, my name is Austin, and this channel is all about helping you to dig deeper and go further to better understand faith and film and everything that's in between. If that sounds exciting to you, make sure you click that subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on any future content. I also always link my social channels in the video description. So I got a Letterboxd, I got, I was gonna say YouTube channel, but obviously you know that. I have a Facebook page and Instagram. I post on there throughout the week as well with what I'm watching, what I'm doing, that kind of thing. So if you want to keep up to date more on some of the stuff I'm doing on a day-to-day rather than just a weekly video, be sure to follow me on my social pages as well. So let's get started with my honorable mentions leading into my top 10 favorite movies from 2022. Now, the past couple of years, I've noticed sometimes after I put my video out, I'll watch another movie or two that I missed throughout the year, and it'll kind of shuffle my list around. So this is definitely a snapshot in time, but I try to be as careful as possible, picking the movies that really meant the most to me throughout the year and the ones that I enjoyed the most. So I don't get to see every movie that comes out. So there's some that you just won't see on this list. I might just have not seen it. Feel free to ask me in the comments if you want to know. I'll let you know. But getting started with honorable mentions, we have in the 15th slot, The Adam Project. This is the Netflix original movie with Ryan Reynolds, where he was doing the time traveling thing, going back and meeting himself to help save the future. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a really fun one. The chemistry between Ryan Reynolds and the guy who played the child version of him, I forget his name off the top of my head, but their chemistry was really great. They did a really good job with that. The sci-fi stuff was cool. The family themes were really cool. Really enjoyed the movie. Next, in the 14th slot, we have Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I thought this was a great job, a great follow-up to the first one, and a great kind of movie to give a testament to Black Panther and specifically Chadwick Boseman and honor his life. I thought they did a really good job with it. It didn't crack my top 10, but I thought they did the best that they could with the situation that they were given and created a really powerful movie. Next, we have the movie Vengeance, which is one that wasn't really on my radar, but it came out to like kind of mixed from the reviews that I've seen, but I just loved the movie. I thought it was really great. I loved the kind of quirky, awkward, dark humor of it. I liked the dramatic story of it. I liked the themes on humanity that the movie discusses and presents. I thought it was really interesting and very thought-provoking. So one that was, I really wanted to get this one on my top 10 list, but there was just so many other great movies that made it just a little bit higher. So it didn't quite crack my 10, but it's still an honorable mention for me. Next, we have one that I actually just checked out this past weekend, and that's Ron Howard's 13 Lives. This is a Prime original movie that was released in theaters, I think, limited release, and then they put it on Amazon. I've been wanting to watch this movie for a month, finally convinced my wife to check it out. We both loved the movie. It was an incredible story, very inspiring, very heartwarming, incredibly thrilling with all the sequences in the caves and the tunnels. The diving sequences were absolutely breathtaking. I just loved it. I loved the story. All of the respect for the events that took place was just really well done. A movie I highly recommend checking out. And then finally, for honorable mentions, in the 11th slot, we have a Netflix original, All Quiet on the Western Front. Lots of great streaming movies that I checked out this year that really did a great job as far as rankings go for my favorites of the year. I loved All Quiet on the Western Front. It's a heavy, dark, brooding movie. There's so many themes on humanity, the darkness that we're capable of. I thought it was really interesting to tell the movie through the perspective of German soldiers. I had not seen the original. I knew nothing about it. I just went in and checked this one out. I thought it was great. A fantastic war movie, one of the best of the past 5 or 10 years. Kicking off my top 10 list, we have the movie Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. This movie is one of the most unique films I've probably ever seen. I respect the heck out of it. They did so many unique things that I've never seen before in a movie, so I gotta give it props for that. This is easily the definitive multiverse movie up until this point. While I liked Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, this movie just takes the multiverse concept and absolutely Usain Bolt runs with it. That's so cool, the stuff that they come up with, the way that they integrate the filmmaking into the multiverse aspect of it, really just mind-bending stuff that they're doing, and all of this on such a lower budget when it comes to blockbusters like this. I'm so happy that this movie was as popular and as entertaining as it was, and it did so well in theaters and stuff. I did not have a chance to see it when it was in theaters, but I picked up it on Blu-ray and checked it out. It was just an experience. It's so weird. It's so quirky. From a performance standpoint, Michelle Yeoh and Ke Huy Quan, I think is how you pronounce his name, were absolutely incredible. It's definitely the standout performances of the film. The action and effects are a total blast. It's innovative, it's creative, it's entertaining. What more could you ask for in a really cool, mind-bending, weird multiverse movie? Next, in the 8th slot, we have one of the most fun action movies of the year. We have Bullet Train. This is one of the most stylish, interesting, quirky movies that I saw this year. There's such fun characters amongst Brad Pitt and the rest of the cast in this movie. They're all unique, they're all quirky in their own way, and getting to see their chemistry as they kind of are intermingling through different scenes together is just so much fun. The action sequences are easily the standout of the movie for me. They're so innovative, and they're being restricted to this bullet train that the movie takes place on, and each bullet train car has kind of a different theme or a mood to it, and they play with that throughout each of the action sequences, along with everyone's kind of different fighting style throughout the movie. So the action is really, really entertaining and really creative. While some might consider the story to be a bit convoluted, I found the frantic nature of it to kind of complement the events that were taking place and the characters that filled them. So for me, it worked really well. I know this one came out to a bit more of a mixed reception, but for me, I loved it, really enjoyed it, and it makes my top 10 list in the 8th slot. Next, in the 7th spot, we have the movie Glass Onion: A Knives Out Story. Knives Out was my favorite movie the year that it came out, which was a stacked year, and it wasn't originally my favorite movie of the year, but just in subsequent rewatches, it just got better and better for me. So that became my favorite movie from 2019. So I had high hopes and expectations for Glass Onion, its sequel and follow-up, and I was happy to say that it is a worthy follow-up. I think it is almost pretty much on the same level as the first one, while also differentiating itself, doing something different. I just thought they innovated well. They pivoted from what worked about the first one and did something different and unique in the second one, with different twists and turns along the way, a different way to present the mystery, take it and spin it on its head, that kind of thing. It just did so many things so well. Again, great performances from the ensemble cast, really entertaining, really fun, quirky characters that I really enjoyed seeing play out, and then the story, that just the twists and turns that it takes along the way. I was kind of a bit wondering where things were going in the first half, but as soon as we get that midpoint reveal and things flow through the second half, I was fully on board and blown away by what they were capable of doing. Next, in the 6th slot, how often can you say that a 5th movie in a franchise makes your top 10 favorites for the year list and is one of the best movies in the series? Well, that's what I thought of Scream 5. I thought this movie was just on the same level as Scream 1 and 2 for me. I did not grow up on the Scream movies. I got into the franchise 4 or 5 years ago and just have been loving it ever since. I was really excited for this one, and now we're already getting Scream 6 this year, which is an amazing turnaround, but we're here to talk about Scream 5. So I thought the movie does a really good job playing with not only our audience's perceived knowledge of horror and slasher movies, but what a Scream movie is, and both blending those together for a really creative story, in my opinion. Now, while I did kind of see the big twists and turns coming, I think I'm just familiar enough with a Scream story structure that they can't always slip everything by me, but nonetheless, it was a really good one and really entertaining. It was a good one, and it was well done. It's one I've already kind of had an inkling to go watch again. I'll probably wait until we're closer to Scream 6 coming out, but nonetheless, a movie that I really enjoyed and kicks us off in the bottom half of my top 10 favorites list. Next, in the 5th slot, we have the revival of the Predator franchise, Prey, which released on Hulu earlier this year. I wish we could have gotten a theatrical release on this. I am still fingers crossed that we can at least get a physical release on 4K or Blu-ray for this one, because I'd love to add it to my collection. But this movie just strips back everything that the Predator franchise has become and goes back to its roots with the original Schwarzenegger Predator back in the 80s. I thought this was incredibly innovative for the franchise. It's not often that you can see a franchise innovate this well this late in the game in its development. But the fact that they were able to just take it, roll everything back a bit, like let's just go with a stripped down, simple Predator shows up for a Native American tribe, and it's them figuring out what they need to do to understand it and get rid of it. Great concept and setup there. I loved the trailers leading into this one, and then finally checking out the movie. I went and watched the Comanche dub because I wanted to see kind of the native language of the Native Americans. And next time I watch it, I might go with the English original version just to kind of compare the two. But I'm really glad that they made the effort to actually get the whole cast to do that Comanche dub for the people who would want that more authentic experience. I thought Amber Midthunder was great in the lead role. She really carried it well. You really feel like she's out there doing these things and capable of doing these things to fight against the Predator. The Predator itself was really cool to see a more feral version of the Predator, something that's a bit more, I mean, they're all brutal and ruthless, but just a little more hand-to-hand combat, which is cool, and not as much reliance on technology. But then again, you still get those technology moments where you're seeing the Native Americans going up against the different weapons and stuff that this Predator has. So overall, great action. Amber Midthunder's great, and then cool just to see something different with the Predator franchise that innovates so well. I absolutely loved the movie. Again, I hope we can get some kind of future physical release and a future of this franchise similar to what they did here. Next, as we approach my top three, we're moving into the fourth slot with Matt Reeves' The Batman. Now, this movie was, I think, my second favorite movie of the year, a bit earlier on, like when I first checked it out. I've seen it a couple times since, so it's moved around and shuffled a little bit on my list. And you know, in subsequent rewatches, I picked up on a few things that weren't necessarily bad, but something that I noted bugged me a little bit more. But nonetheless, a fantastic, fantastic movie. Robert Pattinson was great as the Batman. I loved that this was a Batman-centered movie where we get to see Batman for the majority of the film. I thought it was easily the most visually striking and probably the best looking Batman movie that we've gotten so far. I cannot wait to see where they go next with this series. I'm glad that DC is continuing with this incarnation of Batman and Gotham City. I didn't even talk about Gotham City. Yeah, this is the best like Gotham City I think we may have gotten in a Batman. And Colin Farrell, amazing as the Penguin. John Turturro was good as Falcone. The Cat. Zoe Kravitz is great as the Cat, and just really good chemistry amongst all the characters, really cool interpretations and incarnations. The car chase sequence, absolutely fantastic. I loved experiencing all of this in the theater, and then even at home, it was a great experience as well. So one of my favorite movies of the year, despite some of its shortcomings, but I absolutely love this one and cannot wait to see it continue. Next, kicking off my top three, we have the movie that is the reason this video is a bit later than most other people's top 10s that they put out. I just had a hard time finding the time to go see Avatar: The Way of Water because I wanted to see it in a big 3D screen and just totally immerse myself in the film. And I am happy to say, I mean, we're in the third slot of my top 10. I loved Avatar: The Way of Water. I thought it was excellent. I think James Cameron took everything that was good and even great about Avatar and just stepped it up. Both the world building is even deeper and more interesting than the first one, and I love the world building in the first one. The characters are more interesting, a little bit less bland. There's more depth to them. The storytelling, I think, is, while familiar storytelling beats, it's not as familiar of a structure as the first one was, so they stepped it up even more on the story. I thought the music was great, at the least on the level of James Horner's score from the first one. So for me, like, pretty much every aspect of this movie was good in Avatar 1 to great, and even better in this one. The special effects, incredible. I watched Avatar when we got home after we watched the second one to kind of compare the two. My wife wanted to compare them a little bit more because it had been a while since we've seen the first one. And in comparing the two, the visual effects are absolutely astronomically mind-blowing in The Way of Water. I'd say 90% of the CGI in Avatar still holds up really well, with only a few sequences and shots not. But Avatar: The Way of Water is photoreal. Everything looks absolutely incredible. There was not a moment that I doubted that anything I was looking at on screen was real. I thought It's just a world I want to jump through the screen on and live in. It's such fantastic characters, story, world. I can't wait to see this franchise continue. Kiri was probably my favorite new character to this franchise so far. I think she's really interesting. I can't wait to see where they go as they explore her character a bit more. I thought they did a really good job of casting Sigourney Weaver as her and what they're going to do with that going forward, seeing as her character from the first movie of Grace is no longer in the story. I thought they did a good job bringing Quaritch back. That was one thing I was hesitant on and unsure how they were going to do it. But I thought, despite the bit of a convenience of how they backed him up and brought him back, they did a really good job with the character in this movie. I think it was very convicting. His and Jake's conflict was continuing to be compelling. I'm curious to see what they do with him in the series going forwards as well. But just all around, incredibly great movie. This and mine 2 and 1 are the movies that I gave closest to or if not a perfect score. I gave Avatar: The Way of Water a 9 out of 10, at least at this point. I may still be coming off the high of it because I just watched it, but my goodness, I loved this movie. Next, probably one of the most fun movies I saw this year. Was not on my radar at all. Opened me up to a whole new realm of movies and filmmaking. We have RRR, the movie that was an Indian movie that Netflix picked up international streaming rights for. I checked it out on Netflix and then went and watched it again a week later and really want to watch it again already. So I've seen this movie multiple times already. I think it is one of the most fun and creative movies I've ever seen. There's so much that culminates in this movie. It has action, it has drama, it has romance, it has comedy, it has music, it has an over-the-top world to it, but it still feels grounded in the way that it presents and conveys itself. It's a marvel to check out. And it may not be for everyone because it's an incredibly unique film, but I just was fully on board from scene one in this movie. It's a 3-hour epic blockbuster. This was the year of 3-hour movies, but this is such a monumental film that I absolutely love the characters on. Their brotherly relationship and friendship was so interesting and so compelling to me, and how genuine and authentic it was. And then on top of that, that is further built upon in the action, the drama, the romance, all of that kind of stuff is so good and so well conveyed. So I'm excited because they announced a sequel for this one. I'm sure it's going to be just as good as this one here, but one of the biggest surprises and one of my favorite movies of this year has been RRR. And if you have not checked this movie out, get a Netflix subscription if you don't, just to check this movie out. It is worth your time. What other movie this year can you say that you saw two men, one giving the other a piggyback, fighting a bunch of soldiers in the forest, throwing motorcycles? Like, what other movie can you say you've seen that in? This is just on another level compared to like any other movie that I've seen. Next, my most predictable pick. You probably know this is so many people's number one for the year, so it's not the most original number one pick. Sometimes I try to be a little bit more unique in what I pick, but there's no denying Top Gun as the movie of the year. Top Gun Maverick, that is. There is something special about this movie and the fact that it brought everyone back to the theaters to check it out, many of them for multiple viewings. I only saw this one once in the theaters, but my goodness, what an experience. The story is compelling. It follows a similar structure to the first one, but it's compelling because of the characters, the authentic performances that the actors are giving. The action sequences are unparalleled, some of the most mind-blowing stuff that I still can't believe they are capable of putting in a film. Sticking 6 IMAX cameras in a jet is just something mind-blowing in itself. So the behind the scenes for this movie they blow my mind. The fact that they were able to craft these action sequences that are coherent and cohesive and just further expand upon the story and the characters, just taking audiences on this wild ride that I've loved. I love checking it out in the theaters. I got to show it to my family over the holidays. Much of them had not seen it before. It's an incredible film and a marvelous achievement to, especially a good example being a legacy sequel of bringing back something from the 80s, of carrying over a franchise, of a follow-up film that can be in my opinion, even better and surpass the original. So an incredible film. Like I said, not the most original #1 pick, but I loved this movie, and there's no denying it. Its top spot as the top movie of the year. So that wraps up my 10, along with 5 honorable mentions of my favorite movies from 2022. Thank you for checking out this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to hear some of your favorite movies from this past year in the comments down below. Like I said, if there's any you didn't see on the list that you really thought would be on there, feel free to ask me. I don't have the chance to see every movie that comes out. And if there's ones that you think I would love, I want to hear about them in the comments to check them out. So thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. I'll see you in the next one.